violence, and lots of it. Not from us, though, from AEW's All Out pay-per-view of 2024. Good afternoon, everybody, if you're watching here in the UK, or hello to wherever you are watching around the globe. To Bunkamania Wrestling, I am Jeremy Graves. I am, of course, joined by Matty Boo. We are here today to discuss AEW's All Out pay-per-view from 2024, which ended about 6 hours ago at the time we are broadcasting this live. And we have, for context, both pretty much just finished watching the show. So you're going to be getting some thoughts on the show from us. We're going to sort of do what we like to phrase as a casual conversation regarding the show. So we'll just go with the flow of the conversation, talk about the things that come up, try to make sure we mention everything accordingly, and who knows what else. I will say that if you are joining us live, as it were, you can, be it on Twitch or on YouTube, you can, of course, post your thoughts and feelings on the chat, and you never know, your comments may get read out, just like our cohort in crime, as it were, Harriet Manga Girl, who is watching today via Twitch. Good afternoon to you as well, Harriet. If you're a first-time watcher of Bunkamania, we hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out our channel for more very fun content, not just wrestling-related, but also movie-based content as well. So make sure you check out the recent reviews of Jackpot and Deadpool and Wolverine if you need a bit of a movie discussion fix, or the AEW All In pay-per-view review from both an in-person and on TV perspective, plus Bash in Berlin from WWE. And of course, our other cohort in crime, I will call him El Capitano in this instance, the Decadane. Afternoon to you, looming in YouTube land as well. So, Matty, AEW All Out 2024. I think the easiest way to start the conversation so we can try and pass our respective thoughts and feelings is having just finished watching the show, thumbs up, down, or in the middle. Simple question is that. How would you answer that?
I'm still processing it. I'm literally just processing. At the moment, I want to put my thumb up, but personal opinions, and I'll be absolutely honest, absolute raw, like reactionary feelings and thoughts right now, it's kind of putting it into a middle because I legitimately don't know how I feel about this. In fact, quite the opposite. I feel really concerned about the overall morals and ethics that is being put into the storylines right now and the booking of the card. The wrestling, absolutely incredible. Absolutely freaking fantastic. But this is going in a direction that really, really concerns me.
Absolutely fair. I will give it a thumbs up, but at this point, I would say it's just about thumbs up, kind of like a very high thumbs in the middle, just about up. Because, like you said, the wrestling, let's call it like it is. The main event was the steel cage match, the lights out match, so unsanctioned, quote unquote, if you will. Everything leading up to that, as it were, sans one element of the post-match of the Danielson match, which we'll get into. I think this show was really, really great. But the spectacle of the steel cage match, I am still trying to pass how I actually feel about it, because it was utterly... hey, let's just talk about the cage match. I think that's probably the place to start, really. The cage match itself, all right, I'm going to try and pass some thoughts, and we'll have a conversation, and we'll see how we go. I didn't hate it, but I hated elements of it. And I think the build-up to the match is what was basically drew a lot of people in, like the whole burning of the house down thing on Wednesday on Dynamite. It really, what's the way to phrase it? It really cemented wanting to see this match. I think that there are so many elements of this match that met the expectation of how much of a blood feud this is/was. But there are elements of it where I'm like, flipping heck, holy hell, and all kinds of superlatives. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts globally on the cage match. What about you?
I'm in full agreement with you. I'm actually going to throw an extra caveat into this at the risk of throwing in another match here. Instead of talking about that match, we'll talk about the angle that took part after the Danielson and Jack Perry match. in which, I don't know, I reckon they are still the Blackpool Combat Club. And I've got no real problem with the tone of the angle myself. What I strongly disagree with was the method in which it was utilized. And when I say that, I mean the prolonged use of a clear plastic bag to suffocate Danielson until he passed out.
Mm-hmm.
And we joke on this podcast about things being murder all the time. In fact, it's become one of the Decadane's catchphrases. But this legitimately made me feel uncomfortable and put me in, quite frankly, it took me out of the following cage match from the get-go because of it. And as much as they can say, don't try this at home, as much as they can say, well, you're an idiot for replicating, the fact of the matter is, there is people that look at this, that are people that consume this content, which is meant for pure entertainment. And for a moment, it got very, very real. Great acting from everyone across the board, by the way, on the content, on the, I don't know why I called it the content club, the Blackpool Combat Club. For me as a viewer, it took me out. I reckon there is a line, and I think AEW crossed that line in this pay-per-view. And the good times just rolled on into the cage match. So I'm literally, Jamie, stopping myself from going into full rant because, quite frankly,
mate, absolutely fair.
In reality, it's been a week and I have been incredibly stressed. And anything I would say to dogpile onto what is currently going on into my head would be a little bit too more reactionary and emotional than my intent. The fact of the matter is, I don't want to see things like that again. I don't want to
Absolutely
see...
fair.
This has been brewing for ages, from people trying to set each other on fire to running each other over. We get that. It's part of the silliness. We know that they're superheroes that literally then pick themselves up and be totally fine. We will get to that, Jeremy, with our opening match later.
So if I may interject, just to kind of sort of add a question here. Because for those who haven't seen the show and are maybe just kind of tuning into us, wondering what the heck we're describing, let's just sort of jump to the Danielson Jack Perry match, because admittedly we probably should have started with that in hindsight. That's on me. I'll take the flag for that.
No,
so we have this what I think was a great match between Danielson and Jack Perry. I thought Jack Perry came off great. There was a lot of playing on the past stuff involving the Elite and the BCC. It felt very much like that final almost culmination of the Elite and BCC feud, which had kind of just been on the back burner for quite a bit since it would have been Anarchy in the Ring, so Double or Nothing, I guess, at that point.
It's been going, it's
actually
been
Blood and Guts, sorry, I
while.
stand corrected. Blood and Guts.
Yeah.
But it sort of felt like it was unresolved. And this felt like the culmination of that in many ways. So the match happened. Danielson ultimately retains. It is a very hard-fought battle. Then a lot of things happen. We're getting a moment when Killshot, aka Luchasaurus, comes in, attacks Danielson, but still in the ring behind Killshot is Jack Perry. They used to be Jurassic Express. And so we then get this moment of Jack Perry looking really confused, and then everyone kind of going, wait, what? Christian's music hits. Christian walks down. He's got that gauntlet title shot thing, his equivalent of Money in the Bank, if you will. He comes down to the ring with the rest of the patriarchy, and immediately everyone is like, you can't do this, please. You cannot do this to Danielson after that match. And, of course, the other element as well is the history around Jack Perry and Christian. And that feud they had, and the whole, like a father figure type thing, and all that build-up for the better part of a year. So you've got lots of sort of crossed wires going on of where is this going. Then Jon Moxley randomly appears at ringside, literally like a ghost, because heck if we know where he came from. And he stands in the way of the patriarchy. Then the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club, including Pac, I'm going to throw into that because he's one of the trio's champions, is then at ringside standing side by side with Mox, and the patriarchy leave. At this point, Killshot Luchasaurus is also next to the patriarchy. So they all gradually work their way back up. We get in the ring. We're wondering where is this going because Moxley's been a bit unique in recent weeks, let's say. We get a big embrace, but it's a long embrace. It's one of those long embraces where I'm like,
yeah,
is this the first time you two have talked in a while? Or is this going to lead to something? And then Mox steps away. We get like a big Blackpool Combat Club raising the arms together type thing. And then you see Mox kind of walk to the side. And if you look carefully, you see him do a little nod towards the other side of the ring. And then Claudio uppercuts Danielson. And then Wheeler is being held back by Pac. Seemingly Pac is now fully in the BCC. And then it's basically an assault on Danielson because he's shocked. The plastic bag moment. I say moment. The plastic bag happens, as it were, for a very long time. It's got to be said. Like, holy hell.
This is the very reason why I say this is uncomfortable. I'm perfectly fine with the tone. I am perfectly fine with the storyline beats behind this. But I think that this set a very uncomfortable precedent that has been building underlining for a plastic bag. Right, Matty, you say you weren't going to be jokey about this. This is the bit that took me out of the show because I think that went on way too long. Everybody in the audience, literally, and not in an enjoyable way, that it felt more like we don't like this. It was
almost an ironic chanting that happened. Like, this is murder. It felt like an ironic chant.
This is murder is literally what they started to chant. And it wasn't in a sort of happy and enjoyable way. They literally just said it. This is murder. And I don't know if he was playing this up because it's good old Jim Ross or he was legitimately disgusted by what he was seeing. But even Jim Ross saying that you should not be doing things like this in sports entertainment, professional wrestling. This is disgusting. This is disgraceful. I don't know whether it was him clued to say that or said it in the moment or he legitimately feels that this was not on. But at that point, for the first time in a very long while, I went to Jim Ross and went, "You're damn right, mate."
And you know what I will say as well? Sorry to jump in.
No,
I will
it's
say
fine. I interrupted you for the start. So
hey, it takes two to tango, as it were.
Yeah.
But the Jim Ross element, be it him speaking, let's call it like this, be that him in story or him in reality, Jim Ross adding to this worked so well. And also this forgive the phrasing, this plastic bag storyline, if you will, is actually an echo of a Terry Funk storyline from 1988-ish, I want to say, when he was facing Ric Flair in a feud, which ultimately resulted in Terry Funk, per the TBS network, being forced to apologize. So we'll see if that's going to repeat in some ways, but part of me thinks we will probably hear a lot of reference to this on TV, or we may hear references to something relating to the plastic bag. We will not see it visually. I reckon it's very much going to be a locked on pay-per-view type thing, but there will be references.
I think any packages we'll get will be pretty much, we'll get the edited highlights of the uppercut, Wheeler Yuta trying to get to Danielson as he was being suffocated, but not actually show the suffocation. That's an extra angle we completely forgot to gloss over as well. Not everyone in the Blackpool Combat Club was fully agreeing. But the problem is with the Wheeler Yuta end of this is he knows there was nothing he could do.
Yeah.
He knows that he was pretty much the understudy in all this. And if he tried to do anything, they would just do the same to him. So it was sort of like a no with genuine emotion behind it.
And the other element, you mentioned the problem. There are now two problems in this because Marina Shafir is now officially in this, what we'll tentatively call BCC 2.0. But also, Wheeler Yuta is one of the trio's champs with Claudio and Pac.
This I liked because several months ago, if not even a year ago, Mox said that as far as he is concerned, Marina Shafir is indeed a member of the Blackpool Combat Club. And nothing was said about this on AEW television or anything like that. She represented the Blackpool Combat Club, I think, on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. and I think a couple of other places. But as far as AEW canon is concerned, never brought up, never shown with the group, nothing like that. And the fact she's there now makes me incredibly excited because she is such a good fit.
Completely agree.
Yeah. But again, the bits about this that I love, and this is going to be a lovely segue back to the cage match when we get there. Again, I repeat, I love the storyline beat. I love where this is sort of leading, but that one bit that they did for far too long just took me out of the whole thing. And that is where I'm just going to stop it.
So in terms of where this specific story will lead, like the Danielson being turned on by the BCC, may I present to you a theory? With regard to Jack Perry and the kill shot thing, the patriarchy have had some dealings on Dynamite in recent months of like, if we pay you, can you do this? I reckon we're going to see more of that, and we may try and get some kind of, I won't say resolution between Jack Perry, Killshot, and Christian, but I think there will be an element where they can all tolerate each other. But I also think Darby Allin, in theory, has a title shot coming up at Dynamite Grand Slam because he won a Rumble match on a recent Rampage, if I remember correctly, during the Blood and Guts show. And from that, Jack Perry then beat Darby Allin at Wembley, which then gave Jack Perry, in his mind, and also, quite frankly, he was like the linear number one contender at that point. He then said, well, I've beaten you. I should get the next title shot. So Jon Moxley's been coming out and saying, Darby, I just want to have a chat. Jon Moxley's now turned on Danielson. Could it be, especially how much Moxley put Darby over, he's effectively going to say, give me the title shot you have at Grand Slam. Which then in the future, which it wouldn't surprise me if Moxley then beats Danielson to become champion, and whatever happens to Danielson after that, that's a different conversation. But then later on, Darby then beats Moxley for the belt.
It's very possibility. It's likely. The other thing that we may not have thought about is maybe it's a swerve and this could lead to Darby being among Mox's crew.
Do you know what? 100% up for that as well.
Yeah.
If he becomes a member of the Blackpool Combat Club, who are just no nonsense, beat your face down people, you suddenly had a guy who will run at you like he's a human missile. Freaking great. I'm all in. No pun intended.
And the other thing that we haven't brought up here is we've had a fortnight of Moxley telling people who in the background are hires up, like Tony Schiavone, telling them this is not your company anymore.
Yep.
So is this the Blackpool Combat Club, or is this a whole new faction that are here to, let's say, invade AEW?
Well, the question also is, are they still the Blackpool Combat Club?
That's what I mean. Yeah. Is it even a faction? Or is it a dominant force? We don't know because everything is still very cerebral.
Very intriguing. We'll be sure to keep up to date on that because I'm excited to see where it goes. But let's get back to the cage match. So like I said, I thought this cage match, in terms of where the feud had got to, just to quickly recount my thoughts from the start of the show, in terms of where this feud had got to, I think this was the next natural chapter in it. But I was horrified at some of the elements that were presented. But the violence was on point, but some of it, holy hell. I am not going to regale all of it. All I'm going to please say... Actually, no, you know what? I'm not going to say anything. Because there's far too much to try and recount. But the violence was unfreaking believable to the point where the literal closing moment of the match, the camera on television zoomed away. Because that's how violent... And by the way, there are clips online from folks with their phones in the arena with a full-on good view of that final chair shot. My flipping God.
It shouldn't have happened. I'm sorry. No. Because, again, this is why we go back into the vicious cycle of why we went over to that plastic bag, and then we go over to stuff like the center blocks, which was a real center block, and having people's backs dropped onto them.
Mate, the
And then,
vertebraker on the cinder block. Holy hell.
My literal thought was, you've already taken me out of this match by an angle that shouldn't have happened before it. This is the other thing, Jeremy. This angle with the Blackpool Combat Club should have been saved for Dynamite. I don't care if it's a big show. This is a bit storyline beat that shouldn't have happened immediately before your hyper-violent main event. Or at least swap them.
I think some separation between the two would have helped.
Exactly.
And do you know what, actually, and this is me deviating again, but like we said, natural-based conversation. I will say, I thought overall, the match placement of this show, I think, was near perfect. Because you go back earlier in the show, you had, what was it? So we had MJF Daniel Garcia, where MJF won. Then you had the Bucks defeating Claudio and Wheeler. Then you had just that match between Pac and Ospreay. Holy heck, where Ospreay won.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Then after you have a match like that, and we kind of saw this All In, where you had that gauntlet match, and then you had MJF and Ospreay, excuse me, and then Mercedes and Britt Baker had to follow that, and it didn't work. And I said on our review, I think that could have been better served being earlier. You had Willow and Chris following this, who in their own right can have a great match, but the added extra spice they got was the fact it was a street fight. So they got to do so much, and the placement, it worked so well because of it. Then we got the four-way for the Continental title, which was really good fun in its own right. Then Mercedes and Shida, which was a good match. Not perfect, but there were things, but it was a good match. I enjoyed it. Then you get Danielson, Jack Perry, then this main event. The match ordering, I think, was perfect.
And yet, with that being said, one little thing can go a long way of changing somebody's enjoyment or stimuli of a match just by one beat. And this is what this did. I go back to what we were saying, things that took me out of this match was definitely like the steel, which was the concrete block, which is fine if you're careful with it. They weren't. The biggest thing though, is like, bad enough as it was to have a chair hit as hard as you could across somebody's head, which I disagree with. Immediately before that, flipping Hangman puts a blinking syringe through Swerve's mouth to the point where it sticks out the other end. And I'm sorry, no. Just no. And
may I ask? Was it no... So what's the way to phrase? Because I'm trying to be...
It was a lights out match, so anything.
For the record, it was for the record, it was disgusting. Just to put that across there,
it was gross.
But was it the fact that a needle was used at all, or was it the fact that needle was used in Swerve's mouth, for want of better phrasing?
No, we've had syringes in wrestling before. I mean, we can go back to when Britt Baker, who is a certified professional.
Yeah.
So if anybody was going to allow themselves to be stuck with a needle, it would be Britt Baker, who, by the way, is completely missing in action again now. I don't know how or why, but yeah. But I can accept that. But it was the case of, in this match, and I know people are going to come and throw some flack at us for saying it's a light outs match. What were you expecting? Again, placement is everything. And also, if there is a line to be crossed in a show which for pretty much 75% of its airtime is a family show, it was an over punctuation, shall we say. There was some hyper violent stuff in this match. I actually enjoyed, like the staple gun.
Can I just say as well, you mentioned the staple gun. The staple gun back and forth between the two. I was laughing in a morbidly, what the actual hell? This is mental way, because you can't, it's not that thing, you can't process it. It's just, you're like, I could imagine this happening, but this is happening kind of thing. Yeah. It was just other mental things like that as well.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There were some violent things in this match I enjoyed. And when you know they can do stuff safely, then that's all well and good. Case in point, we go back to Willow and Statlander later on in the show. But it's just literally my enjoyment of this match was already tarnished going in. And then the stuff that happened, which in itself would be shock value if it wasn't for the fact that the scene was already set tonally immediately prior to that. I don't think there's really much else I can really say. Also, the spot where Swerve's grill got ripped out from his mouth was another one because, just everything just had a big old boof to it. Visually, I'm sorry for an audio medium if you're watching any listening down the road, but literally oomph. Everything had an oomph to it. Unfortunately for me, during the course of this match, I got besieged by net issues and watching on a device that kept crashing on me. So
this is the beauty of watching it as an pay-per-view and such.
So the frustration was absolutely real, and I may have missed some stuff. So to this point, I'm pretty much done talking about the match. By the way, I think the right man won.
Now, I actually wanted to get onto this, so I'll let you carry on and lead that charge.
I think the right man won because I don't think this is a storyline ender by any stretch of the imagination. I think they're going to be
for the record.
Trilogy
Hangman Page won.
Yes, I think this was chapter 2 of a trilogy, and I don't know what the hell they're going to do for the third one.
Well, mate, they've already had a couple of matches in a Texas death match before this.
Do you know what? If this ends on just a normal catch-can match, I would laugh my ass off.
You want to know? So, hypothetically, I'm going to call it now. Actually, no, one of the things they could do, they may just do no rope barbed wire.
Oh my god, yeah. Or
because there was some barbed wire used in the match.
Oh, I don't think I trust AEW with a barbed wire death match after the exploding one.
After the Omega Moxley one.
Yeah. No. Do you know what? I think you're on the right track, but make it a Bloodsport one.
Or it might be an Inferno match because a house burnt down. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that match. This is the thing. If you're going to go back and watch this lights out steel cage match, watch it, keep everything in mind going in, but just be prepared. If you are look, I'm not someone who really likes a lot of violence, but I'm intrigued by what people may try and do. This basically borderlined on me going, when you see also the power bomb on the cement block, let alone the vertebraker earlier in the match that Swerve did. Also, I'm just rolling with thoughts now. Can we please take a moment to acknowledge that Swerve's ring gear was amazing? It having it had fire trim all over it and just pictures of Hangman sewn into his tights in front of his burning house.
Yeah. On the back as well. I think on the t-shirt as well. On the back was the actual Instagram shot of Hangman sitting there with the fire behind him.
Oh, yeah. So good. So what else would you like to talk about on the show? You pick a match, we'll talk about it.
Do you know what? As much as I'd like to go and pick something that made me happy during this match, I'm just going to go straight into something I'm going to rant about again, because let's talk about the opening match between MJF and Daniel Garcia. Holy Christ, Jeremy, there was a lot of phlegm. So much phlegm.
You're not wrong.
I will get the rant out of the way first, because I said this in our all-in review. I said that MJF needed to sell this devastating move we've had about 2 to 3 months of storyline punctuating to make that move as effective as possible. Did we get that, Jeremy? Did we get that? Did we get any kind of time off for MJF?
At least a week. He wore some kinesio tape on his neck for a week.
Jeremy, we didn't. We didn't even get a week. The show was on Sunday and he turned up on Wednesday. We got 2 days.
Hey, look, it's MJF. He's got a lot of money. He may have just literally lived in an ice bath for 2 days, you know?
We got 2 days, and then it wasn't even a factor going into the feud with Garcia. That's the thing. Like,
he probably sat in...
Friggin' Ospreay was selling neck injuries more than MJF was. For Christ on a bike's sake.
Hey, look, for all we know,
No,
maybe MJF is just like a Ghost in the Shell character. He can just transfer his mind to a different body. He's got clones of himself, you know.
I love that Jamie's stirring the pot here. I really am. That being said, okay, that's the thing. I'm just going to be an old man shouting at clouds at this. Just this match should have happened a month from All In, not literally 2 weeks. But
for the record, I 100% agree.
But
For the record, I do.
With that being said, it wasn't a bad opener. I do think that the spitting was overused to the nth degree, and it was gross.
I'm going to sound utterly disgusting now, for which I both do and don't apologize for. There is one shot in particular deep into the match where MJF spits at Garcia, and there is the clearest visual of where the spit landed. And you can't hide it. It's very, very obvious. That's all I'm going to say. Also, Harriet over on Twitch, we only need one MJF, please, in reference to me and the Ghost in the Shell thing. But no, that match, though, I thought was very good. I do think it was a bit stupid that Daniel Garcia didn't get the win, but ultimately it was an emotional loss, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, if they were going to do the thing where he was going to get the moral victory over him and, you know, a little bit of catharsis, that's okay, but it felt like he was the winner of the match. And if you're going to do that, I don't know if MJF pulled some stroke. Maybe MJF doesn't want to lose matches after after losing another match. I don't know. But this should have been Garcia's match to win.
Can I give you a wrinkle that may explain why?
Go on.
Allegedly, if you believe internet super sleuths, Daniel Garcia has currently not renewed his contract with AEW. So although this is kind of a high-profile thing and building him up, him not beating MJF but kind of getting the last laugh by kicking him in the balls after the fact is kind of a way of giving him a win without getting the win. That's what some people are saying. But either way, I will say, I did laugh that MJF ultimately cheated to win very, very blatantly and ultimately tried to get a handshake. I did laugh at that.
It was a complete mirror of what happened when MJF turned, in fact. It was like for beat, that was exactly what happened when MJF beat the crap out of Garcia. Garcia reversed it in this instance and did every little aspect of what happened. And so, yeah, poetically, it was great. Garcia should have done it. I don't care about politics. I don't care about contracts. This was Garcia's match to win. Just
indeed.
Yeah.
So the next match on the show was the tag title match, which was the Young Bucks against Claudio and Wheeler. I really enjoyed this match. And by comparison to the MJF Garcia match, which was, again, like another kind of blood feud type thing, just with far less blood and far more phlegm. But this tag team match was just a really fun tag match. And I kind of feel like we haven't had a lot of this recently. We've had some good, like, trios matches, multi-man matches. But in terms of just a straight-up tag team title match, we've not had one for what feels like an eternity at this point, even though there was a three-way tag match at All In 2 weeks ago. But I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't the strongest match I had. We'll get to that. I got two that stand out. But as a Young Bucks match, absolutely fine, absolutely fair. Please, can they take the belts off them at some point with opponents that are worthy to take them off them? Just it's all we ask for. It's all we ask for, everybody. But yeah, I agree with you. It was
the
a
Grizzled Young Vets
match.
are here. So yeah, the Grizzled Young Vets are in now. So in theory, they're going to be having a thing with FTR for a while. Then
this match was very serviceable filler at the end of the day, because I don't think any of us were expecting the Bucks to lose those titles. And you know what? Going into that, I was entertained as a consequence. So I got nothing really to complain about, other than eventually we need to have these titles be fought for properly down the line. And that's it. That's all I got to say about that.
A hindsight thing I've just thought of. This is like following from like the whole Danielson turning on him and whatnot. During this match on commentary, I'm pretty sure when they were talking about how well like Wheeler is doing, and Claudio and them as a team and whatnot. I'm pretty sure it was mentioned on commentary that Claudio now regards Wheeler as like on an equal level to him after kind of being the equivalent of like a protege or a young boy. So it makes me wonder if maybe that's why they didn't turn on him and or didn't try to properly physically restrain him from saving Danielson, because maybe there's an element there where they're like, he'll follow.
Pac was being really buddy with him as well. Or
but that's the thing. After you, please. Sorry,
I've just had another thought, because this was telecasted a few weeks ago when Claudio lost his tournament match for the Owen Cup. For the Owen Cup, Claudio lost his match and showed frustration towards Danielson.
He did, didn't he? Actually, now you mention it, I totally forgot they were in the semi-final match. Now you mention it.
Yeah, it was during it. Claudio lost his match. It wasn't against Danielson. Danielson was on commentary, but Claudio showed a lot of, not so much upset, but a lot of frustration, and he was gearing it towards Danielson, who said to him, "Look, losses happen. Like, get over it. It happens." Because Daniel Bryan likes to lose a lot. Also, Bryan Danielson likes to lose a lot. He does. It makes things exciting for him. But for other people, don't want to lose a lot. And one of those people is clearly Claudio Castagnoli. I will get his name right eventually.
If in doubt, call him Claudio.
Let's just call him Claudio. But yeah, or Swiss Tony. But yeah, that's one storyline beat. So I think this has been bubbling in plain sight for quite a while. What was the other thing we were talking about before we brought up the Claudio thing?
Wheeler being his equal.
Right.
And then on commentary mentioning it. The
other way this can go is eventually it's Claudio versus Wheeler. And it's a literal little guy after versus the giant thing, because Claudio can be a final boss when he wants to be. And if you really want to cement Wheeler back to being on the babyface side, having a strong win against Claudio, like literally overcoming him, is such a sweet match to watch. So it could go just one way or the other.
I just hope the trios titles aren't vacated again.
They won't. They won't. They won't. There's going. I think we're gonna have Wheeler in that faction for a little while. Either he goes back to being the proper little bastard Wheeler we all love, or he's going back to being babyface Wheeler. Either or, the possibilities with this character are pretty good if they're done properly.
Agreed. So speaking of Blackpool Combat Club, seemingly the latest member or the newest member of 2.0, Pac, was defeated by Will Ospreay for the international title. This match was amazing. Pac, like I've seen the first time I saw Pac. This is going to date me now. May 2006 was the first time I saw him. And I knew that night there was something special. And seeing his career progress and where he's gone to with Dragon Gate, did WWE for ages and whatnot and such. Heck, even when he arrived in AEW and he had that great run as the then All Atlantic champion and whatnot. Just everything Pac has done has been so good, but it's almost like there have been stumbling blocks for him, be it during the pandemic, he couldn't travel over, and then he got the nose injury following the Best of 7 series against the Elite with Death Triangle. Just little things that kind of keep hampering him, and this was finally another time for him to really shine. And it was almost 2 different generations as well. You've got Pac and Ospreay, and this was phenomenal. I loved this match so much, and I would go so far as to say this may be Pac's best showing in AEW. He felt like he was on a whole other level. I was going to say tonight, but last night.
I literally wholeheartedly agree. This was 1 or 2 of my favorite matches for the whole card. And one of them may surprise you. I will say it now. It was Willow versus Stat.
I agree. I think that's one of the matches of the night.
Yeah. There's not more I can add. I will have a little niggle about this, and it goes back to the whole MJF thing. Like, literally, they were going on about like how battered Ospreay is and all of that stuff. And we know he is. He's got issues, nagging issues and all of that. There is a thing in these pay-per-views are a lot of overuse of moves.
How many poison ranas can you have?
Poison ranas, like hardest side of the ring drops on your head is a big one everyone likes to use in their matches now. And it's like, I know that these add something to the matches, but let's try something different, because if you overuse this stuff, especially when you've got multiple matches on the same card doing it, then it loses its appeal. It's like the Canadian Destroyer all over again. And again, old man waving at clouds saying, damn you! I totally get that. There is something to be said about overuse and just pad it out. With that being said, absolutely freaking agree with everything you said there. I really don't have anything to add. I bloody love this match. I really, really did.
Only other thing I will add is any other year, this would be a match of the year contender.
but not this year.
We've had some ridiculous matches this year that are match of the year contenders. Oh, sorry, I should clarify. This would be right at the top of the pile of match of the year contenders any other year. That's what I meant, just to clarify.
And most of them are Ospreay matches. This is the thing. Right? Ospreay is probably on one of the biggest runs of his career now.
Greedy bastard having all those matches of the years. Anyway, I digress. Chicago Street Fight, Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale. I really enjoyed this match. These two got to shine something fierce. I can't stop laughing at the thought of the split into the drawing pin spot.
I laughed
so hard.
Oh
I'll let you take this now, Matty. Go on.
In retrospect, maybe we shouldn't be glorifying that after our big old rant about hyper-violence, but it was something new and different to watch poor old Statlander. I'm not entirely sure if I want to get gross with this or not, but flip it. I'm going to say it. Sorry. If she didn't have a clip piercing before, I'm sure she's got one now.
Jesus Christ, Matty.
I'm sorry, everybody. It has to be said.
All I will attempt to move on by is saying, keep in mind, folks, when it comes to the violence, the cage match had not happened yet at this point. So, in terms of...
I will sprinkle this back and I'll walk back. I'm sure I'm going to get told off the back of this.
Good luck. Good luck. That's all I'm going to say.
It was something different done with the thumbtacks, because you usually get all the dropping on your back, dropping on your front, stuff like that. I will say this. It at least looked like she took the fall safely. And
100%.
It made it looked effective. She still got pins all around her. But it looked effective and yet done safely, which is what I cannot say for a lot of the other stuff later on in the card.
You know what else happened in this match, though, which to me really stood out? Willow Nightingale smashing some light tubes over Statlander's head. That was amazing. And there was a moment, even on commentary, they said, where she kind of looked at light tubes sort of going, did I just do that? Yeah.
It was, the pair of them did wonders. Now, I think, but the pair of them, they've gone so far after that first face-off they had as friends about a year ago on 0 Hour, I think it was, because it was literally Botch City between them. And to go from that to what they did here is like night and day. With that being said, I please take Willow away from Stat and give them unique storylines now. It's been several months.
This feels like a natural conclusion. Obviously not the result Willow would have wanted, but it was literally one-on-one because Stokely was out back. It was a street fight. Willow got to choose a stipulation because she won the tag match at All In 0 Hour. It makes sense for this to be the final part of the story until sometime they randomly meet in a tournament or something.
Yeah, indeed.
Or similar.
Indeed.
Next up was the 4-way Continental Championship match where Kazuchika Okada, defeated Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Konosuke Takeshita. This was also really, really good fun. I wanted some Okada and Takeshita interaction. We got it. Give me a singles match right now.
Yes.
I need it so badly.
Yes. Orange Cassidy was also very good in this match.
Orange Cassidy had a problem doing suplexes.
Oh, he really did. The moment when Takeshita and Okada finally faced off with each other, they had to stare off, and then here comes Orange Cassidy with a big old smile on his face. Oh, sorry, am I ruining this moment? Whatever.
What was really good as well is that Mark Briscoe, Cassidy, Takeshita, and Okada, it felt very equal billing in the context of the match. Like, no one kind of felt like they were just a bit part player, for want of a better phrase. Mark Briscoe got some great moments in there. I want to see a singles match with Okada and Mark Briscoe. You know, be freaking great. Also,
yeah,
I want to see Okada and Cassidy have a singles match because they had some great interactions at All In. They've had some great interactions here. I want a singles match.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Absolutely agreed. Also, Rip, oh God, Stone Pitbull. Ishii! Rip Ishii, who's no longer in AEW. He's going back to Japan. They wrote him off. I am sad. I will not lie. I am sad we are no longer going to get any more Ishii and his lack of a neck.
Summer of Ishii.
I know it was so fun while he was there. I really loved it. But yes,
hey, you know what? I'm happy for there to be a New Japan wrestler coming over for like a summer residency in AEW. I'll have that every year.
Absolutely agreed. And just like no matter who they are, they're just now in the conglomeration because the one thing I love the conglomeration because it's just so dumb. It's so dumb, and I love the promos where they do the whole everyone else in the company, everyone else there is just so happy and just say, "Yay, we're behind you, Briscoe," and all that. And then every bloody time, Renee then turns to Orange Cassidy and we're like, "I don't know why I'm here, mate. I don't know." Sorry.
Yeah, Renee's just kind of almost. Renee kind of goes like, "How you doing today?" And Orange is just like, "Yeah, I'm here," or something like that. Just good fun.
Like, am I in affection again? Oh, cool.
Oh, before I forget, going back to the Chicago street fight, shout out to Stokely Hathaway bringing out a chair to ringside that said "R.I.P. New Jack" on it.
Yeah.
Which Tony Schiavone blatantly couldn't read and thought it said "R.I.P. Willow," and Excalibur just goes, "Actually, it says R.I.P. New Jack." But
can I just say, we got Triller TV commercial break, Excalibur, Taz, and Schiavone during a good deal of this pay-per-view.
So good. There was
and I was there for that.
So, in fact, you know what? This is a good time to deviate. We'll take a break before we talk about the next match, the TBS match, because there was some doozies of conversations on this show. There was one moment where, I don't remember what match it was, but Tony Schiavone was talking about how he'd been broadcasting on TBS for decades. And Taz, just no bullshit Taz, just goes, "Oh yeah, because I've not called anything I've not called any shit for decades either, have I? You know," just outright says it. just no filter Taz.
Another thing is when Taz came to the commentary table and Tony Schiavone pipes up, like he's like throws in a lot of, "Hey buddies, good to see you here. It's so great. We're gonna be great together." And Taz is like, "Ain't your buddy, pal. Back off." Whatever.
But now I must draw your attention to a conversation that came up during the pre-show, which we're not going to talk about in depth massively on here, folks. But I don't know if you're aware, but did you during the very first match, which I think was the Iron Savages versus the Acclaimed? Because the whole Iron Savages thing is we're going to go to Tiddy City and whatnot. And there was a line that Excalibur said, which I will say now, he did not follow up on the main show, and I'm very disappointed.
Yeah.
Because he said something to the effect of, "Do you think Tiddy City is near the Yambag region?" We'll have to ask Taz later.
And he also did ask Tony if he's ever been to Tiddy City as well.
Yeah. To which Tony Schiavone was like, "Nope." Oh, so good. But John, commentary tonight in general, actually. Oh, sorry, after you, then I'll make a note about commentary.
I was also going to say, are the Iron Savages' new thing is that they are both Otis?
They've been doing that for a while, to be fair.
They have been doing it for a while. To be fair, they're mostly on all the shows that aren't Dynamite. But the pair of them are now just outright Otis. Like literally, one of them is just doing all of Otis's things. It's so funny to look at. Anyway,
100%
carry
agree.
on.
But commentary as a whole on this show was really damn good. Nigel McGuinness was on for a bunch of it as well. He added a lot to it. I really am on these pay-per-view shows. There are some matches where I wish certain people were on the call, but as a whole, it's like, for example, Nigel wasn't on the Danielson match, if I remember correctly.
Again,
it was JR that came up, and it's just like part of me wishes he was on that. But as a whole, the commentary has been excellent recently with AEW, and I'm glad they kept Taz in as well for the Danielson match, because it was really nice to hear JR and Taz doing commentary with each other. Just very refreshing in some ways. And admittedly, I don't know if he did on All In, because I've not watched the show yet, so I shan't comment. But let's talk about the TBS Championship match. This being Mercedes Moné, Camille being banned from ringside, against Hikaru Shida. Mercedes Moné retained. To my eyes, and let me know if you agree with this or not, I think this is the first instance on television where we have visually seen people in the crowd holding up anti-Mercedes Moné signs.
The crowd really did not get behind it this whole time.
Because there were definitely people chanting for her, but there were a couple of signs in that audience that were just very noticeable. I think it was Mercedes Phone was one. And there were a couple of others. Some I'm not going to repeat on here. But
I think the All-In match did her no good whatsoever, because one of the main complaints is they reckon she phones in her matches, which I disagree with entirely. I think overall this match was an improvement over the All-In match, and I think Mercedes can carry some of the blame for that. I think it's also safe to say there was a ginormous Britt Baker-sized problem there as well. I think she had a good opponent in Hikaru Shida. The only problem is that Hikaru Shida is now at a position where we don't expect her to win anything, unfortunately, and it was going to be true here as well. There's no way Mercedes is going to be losing her titles anytime soon unless they give her like a very strong opponent and a very strong program. But I think we're now going to be at a phase with her where she's just going to face like a different member of the women's roster until we have a proper full program with her. She's basically going through the Britt Baker run right now. Ironically, because to explain, Britt never really had a credible opponent. Look, she just had from pay-per-view to pay-per-view to pay-per-view a member of the women's roster with no guarantee she was ever going to lose that title. And I think we're going to have this again with Mercedes. We also saw a murderer, Bryan Danielson, says somebody on the chat. But yes, we already discussed that. So
but so what I will say though as well is what I think that this TBS title match did do. And by the way, to Dylan over on the YouTube chat, I do encourage you once we're done to scroll back through to hear our thoughts on all of that, because we did go into it very in depth. So definitely worth checking out in our opinion. But when it comes to this TBS Championship match, I will say what I am actually happy that they've done early on now in this Mercedes Moné title run is Camille has been a thorn in the side of a lot of people. And thinking back to the Britt Baker run / Jamie Hayter run, when it would be one or the other getting involved quite a bit to help out their friend, this was literally the cleanest win you could get for a title defense by Mercedes Moné. So it has actually established she can do it on her own, which obviously everyone knows, but just that thing of in the like you said earlier, in the canon of AEW, it's now been firmly established. And
exactly.
This match was all right. There was definitely a moment where this match kind of fell apart, and it involved doing Hikaru Shida having to do her katana knees, where I think Mercedes was meant to duck one of them, and she just got full on punted in the face, as it were. Which I bet was no fun at all.
Carried on.
Exactly.
Absolutely carried on.
So the other thing I want to ask about Mercedes Moné, and this isn't me ragging on it, it's more because I want her matches, for want of a better phrase, I just want them to come across better. But I still can't figure out if I like this finishing move she has of the Moneymaker. I like it as a concept, but it feels like it never comes across like a decisive move to me.
I think she has a good idea in her mind on how it's going to go. And I don't think her opponents can quite grasp what it is she's trying to do. So there's a miscommunication there. Some people do it well, and some people do it fine, is probably the better word to say there. And then some people, there's a stumble. Like the very first time she did it in Wrestle Kingdom, when she not faced off against Kyrie, when she first approached Kyrie and then did that move of her, you kind of like scratch your head with about what was that move. It didn't feel devastating. It just felt like a twirl. And here we are again, 2 years later, a little bit over, and this is still going on. And I think she's still trying to tweak it. I think she's still trying to get it over. But if your opponents can't do it in the way that you want them to do, perhaps try a different move in which both parties can actually sell the move without making it look like you just done a twirl and now you're dead, you know?
So I've it's literally just come to mind as I've been thinking about how it's done. This is actually a variation of Will Ospreay's Stormbreaker. Because you think about how he gets them up on the top of their shoulders, he kind of spins them around and drops them down. It's kind of half of that just from their back. It might almost just be better served just to try and do it from the shoulders. And yeah, it would look like the Stormbreaker at that point, but it might just work out well.
Indeed.
So, but yeah, and then we've touched on Bryan Danielson, Jack Perry, which, like I said, I thought the match was great. Jack Perry came off like just really, really good. It's done so much to elevate him. The whole Blackpool Combat Club, and where is that going after the fact? Cannot wait to see where that is going. And as for the cage match, we've sort of said everything we kind of want to say about it, but yeah, utterly brutal. And I will say, I don't think I can go back and watch it just because it's that brutal for me.
Yeah.
Oh, also another fun fact, because I you sort of try and search around online to see what has been said. Has there been any scoops from backstage? Apparently, Swerve and Hangman both just said they're fine.
Yeah, I thought they would be. I mean, they worked all that stuff out. They worked all that stuff out for sure.
Oh yeah.
It's just as a viewer, both that and the plastic bag bit. I know this is going around in circles, but we do have other people in the chat.
No, it ties a bow
and basically is asking our opinions. We again, to reiterate, we loved the matches, but certain things that transpired during them kind of took us out of it. Now that I've had an hour since, because I literally stopped watching the show 5 minutes before Jeremy hit play on the stream. I'm a lot more calmer in my rationale and reasoning now, but I still think that this violence has an unsettling precedent. And I will say, because I said this to Jeremy, if Tony Khan wanted GCW, he should have just bought it instead of trying to emulate it. But that is neither here nor there. I agree with everything you said about the Jack Perry and Bryan Danielson match. I do think an awful lot of that is because of Bryan Danielson basically elevating Jack Perry. Because right now, Bryan Danielson is having a hell of a semi-retirement run. Because what he is doing, he's making sure that everybody he faces against is like enhanced by literally having a match with him. And that's great to see. I'd love to see how Jack Perry takes this going forward. And it's not just buddies with the elite, if you know what I mean.
Indeed. I will point this out from the chat, actually. Also, fans were chanting CM Punk at All Out. They were, but based on some live reports I've seen and whatnot, and someone who was actually in the building, apparently they got shut down pretty quickly. Also, I will say, it was very refreshing, because there was definitely one moment, as I think Perry was walking backstage, where you heard a very loud CM Punk chant. But it was actually very refreshing for there to not be a CM Punk chant during one of his matches. There was Cry Me a River, which is kind of the new equivalent of, but it was kind of refreshing that wasn't such a big element of the match now, as it were.
Well, I think Jack Perry's going to get all that. And to be fair, he is leaning into it. You had real glass in his last match before.
You have to, though, at this point, don't you?
So, but the thing is, as well, the CM Punk fans have got that lovely little security blanket of, well, he's not just gone. He hasn't disappeared. He's probably having like a whale of a time, like fighting over friendship bracelets over in WWE. So I think they're all right. I think the people that have got a bit butt hurt are kind of all right at the moment. So
the balance
it's all good.
It's a really good balance at the moment. And in terms of AEW being an alternative, boy, was this show today proving it was an alternative. I would also like to draw attention to Revo, the JoJo fan over on YouTube as well, who says, kind of funny how whole House of Torture has really helped Jack Perry, which continues to be mind-blowing. Because don't forget, when he went to New Japan, he aligned himself with House of Torture. Of all things.
His entire visual look now is based on House of Torture. His TNT title would go so well with that faction. Ironically, I'm wearing a Bullet Club shirt, but it's the wrong kind of Bullet Club. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, mate. That's everything that's happened to Jack Perry since the incident has really just been for the benefit of him. And I just hope that in backstage and in real life, this is done is help him mature a little bit, because we want to see these pillars actually be pillars, if you get what I mean.
Agreed. In terms of a couple of other notes on the show before we gradually start to wind down on the pre-show, there are a couple of things to probably take note of. It was, first of all, relation to Nigel McGuinness. He did a little bit of punditry with the team that were there, and it was kind of brought up, are you going to do any more matches? And he kind of just alluded to the fact of, if the right opportunity comes up, never say never type thing. So kind of like teasing a little bit there. And there was a segment involving Sky Blue, who of course is nursing an ankle injury at the moment. She came out to address the crowd. And then Mariah May interrupted and said, nah, Chicago ain't going to have my championship celebration, which then led to her attacking the injured Sky Blue. And then Queen Aminata coming out to help Sky Blue. So we're seemingly going to get something between Queen Aminata and Mariah May, which I am genuinely intrigued by.
Yeah, that she's been... Again, I love Ring of Honor. I really, really do. But it has just become the dumping ground for talent that they got nothing to do with for AEW. And that's where the Queen has been for a little while. So, yeah, hopefully there is going to be something there that really showcases her talents, because she does have talent in abundance. I'd love to see a little feud between her and Mariah May. As for... Sky Blue, it has to be said, she was full-on babyface here, so I'm guessing that is what we're going to have from her upon her return, which is a shame, because I kind of liked her goth face. I like dark blue. So
I mean, look, at this point, House of Black might be babyface. Where are they? Where have they gone? Tell me, Matty. Tell me.
They've probably gone to the House of Torture, mate. They'll get on really well.
Oh God, I hope not. I hope not. But yeah, and so yeah, if you want to hear our thoughts on the rest of the show, folks, you can go back and check that out in the archive. Dylan, I see you mentioning about what did we think of Pac versus Ospreay. My summary: any other year, probably top of the list match of the year contender. But this year, unfortunately, there are so many other great bangers. It may not even make it into the top 10. Who knows? But it was so damn good. But folks, if you have enjoyed the show today, we hope you have. If you want to find out more about Bunkamania UK, we encourage you to check out the link you can see on screen, that being linktree/Bunkamania UK. There you can find the links to our YouTube channel, our Twitch, and some other platforms where you can follow us as well. Matty, if people want to find you, in case you do your own personal stuff, as it were, what's the best way that people can find that?
You can mostly find me apologizing to the Decadane about... the thing that I may have said earlier on, it was crude, it was bad, and I really wholeheartedly apologize for it. But also, levity. But other than that, you can also find me under Matty Boo Twitches over on Twitch. I don't know if I'll be streaming today now because it's been a while. It's been a week. So I may just want to chill. With that being said, it's a very chill Sunday. But that being said, you can also find me on Instagram and Threads under Matty Boo Super.
There you go. And if you're interested in finding some things that I do, best way to do that is to check out my link tree, that being Giraffe-Me. There you can find links to my Twitch channel, YouTube channels with VODs and such, and also my unboxings YouTube channel, if that is of interest to you at all. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, if you want to find out more about Bunkamania UK, linktree/Bunkamania UK, that is where you could find the links to all of the things we do on this channel, be it wrestling talk, film reviews and such, accordingly. On that note, Matty, any other business, any other random thoughts that have come to mind about the show at all you want to just quickly impart on folks? Anything else relating to All Out whatsoever?
Can we not put more? Can we not no longer put syringes through people's faces, please?
You're going to have to send an email to that to contact@someoneataew.com.
And also, can we not murder each other anymore? We want to see banger matches from those people, please. I will also say, because he's posted it in the chat, we have also got movie and TV content on the horizon, including Beetlejuice on Bunkamania Goes to the Movies, followed by on the watch list, I believe it's called, a review of Terminator Zero.
Indeed. And Harriet's response to your thought about the questions you're asking in reference to AEW and can someone tell them? Tell that to Tony Khan. That's her response. So with that being said, folks, thank you so much for checking us out today. We hope you enjoyed the show. As mentioned, check out the other podcast if you're so inclined, and be on the lookout for more content from us very, very soon. From myself, Jeremy, from Matty, we've been Bunkamania UK. Until next time, have a lovely rest of your weekend and take care.
It's for the sickos.